Hello everyone. My name is Iru Musu. I am a Unity instructor, and in this video, which was requested by one of my students, is to show the whole process of getting a 2D sprite character into a game scene and having that character be able to work, jump, and flip the character when it's working forward or backwards. So I'm going to start. This is very raw, so I'm just going to quickly start the whole process. So first off, I downloaded this asset called the night. Sorry, I downloaded this asset called Night Files from the Unity Asset Store. If you want to get it yourself, you can go to the Unity Asset Store. Yeah, I think this was where I got it from. Um, you, my internet is a bit slow. I might speed up this section. Okay, so if you go to the free, if you go price and you select free, you'll see it here at the top. It's not that huge of a file. You just add it to your Unity project. If you do not know how to add it, you wait for this to load. Make sure you have a registered Unity account and you use that to log in. I'm sorry, my internet is terribly slow. And use that to log in. You click on add asset. First off, you see add assets, add asset. And when you've done that, then you'll see this open Unity, and you click this, and then you click this. But make sure that your Unity is opened already before you do this, so it opens the exact project you want it to import this package into. So I already have that done, so I won't be doing that anymore. So while you have this here, I'm just going to quickly show you how I created this floor, but I'm not going to be creating the floor all over again. So what I did was I located a floor in the Kenny asset. I had this Kenny asset too. You can get this if you go to the Kenny asset pack .nl, I think, or KennyAssets.nl. You go there and you look for the um, UI pack. Was it the UI pack? One second. You go to games assets, you go to sprites, I think, if I'm not wrong, then you go to tiles. You click on double, and I think this is where I got it from. So let's look for that particular flow. So this is it. I just dragged it into the scene here like this, and then what I did next was very simple. I put it where I wanted it to be, check my game scene, ensure that it's drawing it on the floor there. And the next thing I did was just to add a box collider 2D. That's basically all you need to do. And make sure you already created a layer. If you don't have this ground layer, because I created this myself, click on add layer and just add ground like this, right? Ground like this. But I already have mine added, so I won't be doing that. So I'm just going to select the object, make sure you put it as ground in your layer, and that's just about all you need to do. And then you just go in and you keep duplicating them like this until you're able to get a seamless ground distance. Useful tip, so you don't have to be finding all of these objects like this. What I would usually do is I'll create an empty game object right outside here, and I'll call this floor, and I'm going to drag all of this and put it inside of here. So now I don't need to deal with them as single objects, but I can just go in and continue to increase the floor, try to keep them as seamless as I can, right? And I can just keep doing this. and everything is just going to happen inside of the object, and I can just go here and select all of them at once. So that's just a side note, but I already have one created here, so I'm going to disable this and enable my I'm going to disable this and enable my ground, because I don't really want to do that again. So if you go to the game view, you see we have a ground floor that our player can work on. And if you check, you can see that every single ground floor is set on the ground layer. So make sure to do that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to introduce our character into the scene. And before we do that, let me go ahead and explain a couple of things. So there are three things that we will be using in this to get our character to work. Not just three things, but three main things that you need to take note of. Number one will be the sprite renderer. Number two will be our animator. And number three, I can't remember exactly what number three is, but as we go through the video, I'll tell you. Okay, it's your rigid body 2D. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to look for our ninth file here. So if you've downloaded the ninth from the Unity Asset Store, you will get it here as ninth files. So you're going to look for that, click on the ninth.png, and what we're going to do is we're going to look for our idle animation, which is O1 here, and we're going to drop that into the scene. Now let's go into our game view and we can see our character is right here in the scene. Now, just to get this guy to work, I'm going to call this guy player main for now, and then I'm going to just by adding the character into the scene, the game object already by default comes with the sprite renderer, and clicking on this will flip our sprite forward or backward. This will come in handy later on as we handle the control. Now, while that is done, we are going to click here and add a rigid body 2D, and then we're going to expand this and make sure we go to constraints and we lock X. It's so that our character doesn't flip. If I open X, if I release X, and then we add our capsule collider 2D and we do our settings, you'll see what happens. So I'm going to open this up. Let's zoom in a bit. Let's zoom in a bit. Let's reduce the size of our capsule a bit. Drop the height a bit. Now let's bring it downwards a bit. Yeah, so around there. Let's offset it forwards a bit like that. Now when we've done that, let's hit save. Always remember to save your file. When we've done that, if we hit play, as a result of not locking that constraint, our character is going to fall forward. It's going to fall forward due to gravity. So if we try to move, okay, we don't have our character controller script set yet, but I'll just leave it that way and then we'll see the effect of that. So we do have this. The next thing we're going to add will be the character animator. So I'm going to click on add and I'm going to do this animator, and we're going to add an animator. Now we have animator added, which is a component, but it needs an animator controller, a runtime animator controller. So what you would do is come here. I have a lot created already, but just for this video, I'm just going to right click. I might not be organized in this project, but I urge you to always stay organized so you can easily find your files and make adjustments as quickly as possible. So I'm going to click on this create, go to animation, and we're going to go to animator controller, and we're going to call this player main. I usually like to keep the name of everything around my character the same so that I know exactly what components are for what character. So I'm going with player main. Now I'm going to select my player, look at our animator controller, and I'm going to drop player main there. Now we have a controller. The next thing we're going to do is I already have a script written down. I will have the link to the script down in the description so you can download it if you want to. But quickly going through that, I'm going to quickly come here, do a player movement 2, that's the name of the script, and quickly we have that here. So in this script, Um, yes, in this script, what we do have is a system that helps us control the player, jumping, walking, and a couple of other things, but they haven't been integrated. But as time goes on, I'm going to be integrating them into the script. Now, this is just the base script so that we can move and jump and have control over certain things. So what we're going to do next is populate this because it's a little bit bad. The script itself is a bit badly written because I can't just hit play and not get an error. I'm definitely going to get an error because I have no proper check for all of this. So just so you know, I might write a cleaner script another time, but for now, let's just make do with this. Um, so we have our character here, and the next thing we're supposed to do is populate the component. So if we hit play right now, it's definitely going to populate the rigid body, it's going to populate the animator, but it's not going to populate the ground check. Rigid body is a private object, so it won't show up in the editor. Now, if we hit play and we press forward, you can see our character falls facing down. And that is simply because we have not locked this constraint. Now, let's lock it up and let's see what happens next. If our character will fall straight down when we move forward. So now you have this and you see our character does what it's supposed to do. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start adding all the animations. So I usually, when I'm doing my animation, I keep my animation window open and my animator window also open. So you click on this, it's going to open your animator right here. This is any state and this is entry state. So the animator picks through here entry state and plays whatever is your default animation, and from there you can branch out into other things. There are way more advanced stuff you can do with this, but for now this is where we are. And make sure you are selecting not layers but parameters, because that's what we'll be working with while we're here. Now the next thing we're going to do, if I hit play, you will notice that our script generates an error. It generates an error. If you go to your console, you will notice that it has this error here. Now it's simply because we do not have a ground check. So what I'm going to do is stop here, go to console clear. I always like to clear so I don't have those errors. So when you want to create a ground check, right click on your player, click here and click empty object. And I'm going to call this ground check. Now the reason why I have this has to be a child object of the player. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to locate where that child object is, and we're going to move it down to the player's feet. Down here to the player's feet. So there you go. So we are now at our player's feet, and now we can do a ground check. So you're going to go back to selecting your player, find the script, and we're going to drop in the ground check here. Hit save. Now when we hit play, we shouldn't get that error. We might get error for some other things, but it's not going to be for ground check. As you can see, we don't get any error. So now our character just does this and doesn't really do and give us any animation. So what we're going to do now is start animating. Click on this, we have our animator, and the next thing you're going to do is click on window, click on animation, and click on animations. Now this is too scattered. What I usually would do, I would drag this and drop it here and just let it sit here as an animation. Now when your character has no animation yet, no clip, you can see no clip, you get this blank field, and ensure if your character is not selected, you can hit the create clip button. So here when you click on the player, you click on the create, and then you can create your clip. So what I'm going to do now is create a new folder where I want my animations to reside. Animations underscore player name, right? So this is where I want my animations to reside, and I'm going to call this one let's call this first animation idle. So this is going to be our default animation. Now we're going to go into our ninth files, click on ninth png, and we're going to look for the idle image, idle sprites. So we have idle z1 all the way to idle 6. Now you're going to click on select all of them, but make sure you're selecting, you're drag and dropping from the one where you have from the first frame. So you have O1 here. So you're going to drag that into here, and then I'm going to extend this to 20 seconds. Now the reason is if I left it how it was, the animation would play a bit too fast, which is not good. So I lengthen this to 20 seconds, hit save, and now when you hit play, it's looking a lot better. Now the next thing we're going to do after that is create another clip, but let's start our game again and let's see what happens. Now if you notice, you can see our player shaking a bit. um yeah, so you can see the player shaking right there a bit, which means the idle animation is playing. But if I should hit forward, it just keeps doing the idle animation instead of an actual run animation. So I'm just going to stop that. Let's zoom out back. Now when we've done that, we're going to select our player again, and we're going to select our create a new clip. We're going to do that's not where we want it, player main, and I'm going to call this one walk, right? Walk. Hit save. Now uh while we're here, we're going to click on the animate first. Let's get the walk animation. So here you have walk 0 to walk 6. I'm going to quickly drop this here, and I'm going to drag this again by another 20 seconds. Let's preview it, hit play, and we see our player is working. Now the next thing we're going to do is click on our animator and begin to do some organizing. So first off, this is the animation that plays alone, and if you do not connect this to this with a condition, you will never get your character to go into working. So what you do is you come here, create a parameter. For me, I'm going with a bool parameter. You can use whichever of them you want, depending on how you want to write your code. But for me, I'm going with a bool, and now I'm going to call that working. So you have working. So now the next thing I want to do is you're going to create a transition from working to from idle to work. So this tells um, the game how to transition or how to move, when and how to move from idle to work, and then we're going to transition from work back to idle. Now these are supposed to have conditions, but we didn't put any condition right now. If I was to hit save and hit play, this is just going to be all over the place. You have the idle animation play, it will go to the work animation, and then to go back to the idle. You can see. So that's not what we want, and we want to be able to control it programmatically. So by to do that, you see this working parameter we created. If it's on, if it's off, then it affects whether our player is in a working state or in an idle state. So first off, let's set our conditions. First, our condition to from idle to work is going to be simply adding this and say if working is true. So if the condition working is true, then we want to be able to go into a working state. At the same time, if you leave this as exit time, it means the animation will play completely before it switches to the work animation, and you don't want that. You want the switch to be instant. So I'm going to take that off so that that doesn't affect what we're doing. And then for this, we're going to say if working is false, then we want it to transition back to idle. We're going to hit save, come here and hit play. Now let's see that working. So now you can see our character is working. So that's what I was talking about. It seems as though I didn't click on the exit time for one of the conditions. Okay, so let's take a look and check what's going on. Let's select this. There's exit time. There's exit time. I mean, no exit time here. No exit time here. But for some reason, the animation is uh, not going as expected. Why is that? I tested this a couple of times and it was working fine. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do I have any wrong with this? Let's hit play and let me analyze properly. Let me analyze properly. So you have your idle. The okay. So the engine just glitched out. Okay, it's still doing that. Okay, I think it's my editor that's glitching out. So ignore. I'm going to hit save. That's done. The next thing we want to add is the jump animation. So I'm going to click create clip. Make sure we go back to our player main animation folder and let's just call this one jump. The jump animation on this only has 2 frames, so I'm going to look for those 2 frames, 0 and 1, and we're going to do 1 and 2. I'm going to drop this here. I'm going to make this into let's go with 5 seconds, right? Hit save. I think 5 seconds is a bit short. Let's go with 10 and let's go again. So yeah, good. So that's good enough. um the next thing we want to do is create a condition for jump. So I'm going to create this, go to bool, and I'm going to do jumping. Now what I'm going to do here is bring this over here, and now we're going to tie it with the conditions. So make transition to this, make transition to return back, make transition to this, and make transition to return back. Now next thing we're going to do is set up the conditions. So what we want to do is, if our character is idle and we hit the jump button, we want our character to play the jump animation. So if jump is true, we want this to happen. If jump is false, then we want the animation to return back to idle. But if character is working and jump is pressed, we want it to go this way. But if character is, because we already have a condition where if jumping is just false, so we can't have the same here. We need to know whether we're switching from jump to idle or from jump to walk. So I'm going to select this, click on this condition, remove this. Let's check that we did that for the other. Remove that, and we're going to go add the conditions here. If walking is true and if jumping is false. So we have this right here. So let's check our condition, make sure all the has exit time is taken care of. That's done. Let's hit play and let's watch our character jump. That was weird. That was weird for some reason. That was very weird. All of a sudden, our character is not doing anything. That's weird. The script just stopped working for some reason. I do not know. Let's see if it initialize all our variables. It did initialize all our variables. Okay. I've seen where the problem is. We didn't set the layer for our character to be able to jump. So I'm going to select ground and we're going to hit play. Make sure you don't forget to do that. So now, so if you jump and you're still working, our character continues working. But if you jump and you're idle, our character goes back to being idle. So that's basically it. Now we're going to explain. I'm going to explain what's going on in the script. So if you took note, we had, I told you, three main components. Number one is the rigid body, number two is the animator, and number three is the sprite component. Now there's more. You have the move input, the is grounded. All these are some checks to ensure every other thing works properly together. So here you can see we initialize both the rigid body 2D of the game object, but if you note, rigid body was private here. You can make it private or public, it doesn't matter. So it was private here anyway. And we grabbed that rigid body 2D component, stored it inside the RB, which is our rigid body variable, and we did the same for the others. Now the next thing we did was to store our back and forward keys into this variable called move input, and then we use that move input to check if the move input is forward, then we're going to not flip the character. If the move input is backwards, then we're going to flip the character to give the illusion of going forward and backward, so you feel like the character is turning. Then the next thing we did was those variables, those parameters we created in our animator, the working parameter, which is this one, and we're getting it through the animator, which we already declared as a variable, and we stored the animator in the component in our game object as the animator, so we could access all its parameters. So here we're accessing the working parameter, which is here, and here we're also accessing the jumping parameter, which is also here. So that's what makes our game work. I can do a separate video explaining the script alone, but that's just basically it. The script will be down at the bottom of the description of this video. You can download the script there, and I also paste the link to get the ninth asset on there too. So if this was useful, give it a like, sub, and yeah, let me know what you would like to see next. Bye.